Hi, my brother. How you doing?
Hello, hello.
Thanks for being here.
I'm doing
Appreciate
well.
you.
How about yourself?
Doing well.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me over.
Yeah, man. This is a crazy time, but it's definitely a time where we can kind of rally together and work with small businesses to support them and bring them through this crazy time. And like I mentioned earlier, we kind of met through Hillary. And I wanted to ask you a couple questions, considering usually you're asking people questions, and I wanted to kind of turn the tables on you and say, like, what got you to want to develop My Idaho Friends and build that kind of thing for the community?
Well, Jason, thank you for first of all having me over, and big shout out to Erica as well. The question is, how come the idea of my Idaho friends came about, and having this project of having conversations with business owners. So for what I do with work, I get to deal with a number of business owners, and prior to moving back to Idaho after being gone and spending time throughout the country and outside of the country, something caught my attention, and it's just a way in which we do business in Idaho is just a little bit different. It's a little bit old school, if you may. There's a number of things that get done, not at all times. We advise against it, but there's a number of things that get done on a handshake. There's a lot of things that get done through just a word of one person to another, and somebody vouching for you. And you could argue, that well, that's networking, Jaime, absolutely. But it's, it's just a little bit different here, and you get to see it if you're coming in from out of town and move here into Idaho, not just into Boise, but into Idaho. You get to see it also, like if you're a boomerang, such as myself. I was here till 2003, and then I left and came back in 2015 and started my new career. And in having this conversation with business owners, there's the standard cookie cutter conversations, talking about business plans and such, and the challenges of being a business owner and trying to be a manager and a leader, to your work family, and how you're going to go about, um, you know, making that one and the same, or having them be different.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you look at it as like, I'm growing this business in order to at one point in time sell it, or I'm taking on this business in order, to create a legacy. Uh, it's just resonated with me. Like over here in Idaho, there's a few more things that are just um, more family like. The small business owner, of course, they want to make a living, they want to make money, but they know and understand they have to be deeply embedded in the community in order to make that business successful. Are we on? Uh-oh.
Yeah, we're still good. Sorry, you couldn't hear me there for a second. Yeah, it's
Like, oh no.
you mentioned the notion of the outsider, and especially somebody like somebody like me who I know everybody's gonna immediately run away from their computers and be like, "Why is this guy talking about Idaho?" Coming from California and being the transplant that I am, I know. Um, uh, how Idaho deals with um, the difference about how Idaho deals with business and how it's very much like a community centric thing. Um, because Idaho is such a tight knit community. You saw the way that Brad Little talked during his big speech during the initial closure of things, and how it was always the question of like what's going to happen, and it's very much the question, the answer of like Idaho's going to take care of itself. Idaho's going to take care of its own. We hear about these great stories of Idaho taking care of each other. um, do you do you have any like specific stories that you really that really resonate you with that exemplify that?
Oh my goodness. So yes, I do. That's a great question. I really wanted, and you know this, I really wanted to continue with my Idaho Friends project. Maybe we can get into it later as to how come
Sure.
we didn't continue working on that. But the third episode, the third story, uh, I had a conversation with my friend Rich Tate. Now, Rich Tate, his family owns the M&W stores, and they have, the family-owned business, for several years. And well, gosh, if you recall, when things got a little bit tight with money, all over the place. Oh gosh, when was this? I'm trying to like come up with like a specific date.
Was
Um,
it a couple like winters ago type thing?
yeah, I'm trying to remember how come there was a shortage of I'm trying to remember, and I don't have my notes available, and that's why I was talking
Yeah,
about
that's
notes
okay.
earlier. Uh, but this particular town in northern Idaho, right? Just M&W, this particular M&W store is just like the end all be all as far as like what everybody needs, a
Hmm.
large part of the population. A large part of the population is just an elderly population, and I'm trying to recall what was that it happened, and my memory is failing me right now. But you know, a number of the elderly population and some families just were not able to get their food stamps,
Mm.
and this particular manager for this MW store took it upon his own initiative to reach out, to Rich and his family, and asked, what else he could do. And then Rich was, "What do you mean? What else? You can do?" Well, he was already spending his own money to try to make sure that these people were going to be able to buy their bare necessities. Um,
Wow.
and no, nobody told him to do that. He just took that upon himself.
Uh-huh.
When Rich learned that, he created a plan, along with this manager in order to make specific, essentially, what's the term? Food. Not food allergic, not food sensitive. Oh my gosh, I can't speak English right now, Justin. That's so embarrassing. Um,
It's no
Maybe
worries.
if I
Take
said it in Spanish, but no, they were just not able to they just didn't have any income as far as like purchasing like just the bare necessities, just like
yeah.
their bare needs, in order to just feed themselves. So so Rich and his family created a program for this specific store in which people were then able to come to the grocery store and have like a significant discount, and some things were just made available to them. I'll have to look at my notes. I don't want to say that it was for free, but it might as well have been.
Yeah.
And through this period of time, food insecure. There we go. That's what I
Okay.
was trying to. Of
There you go.
course.
It's always going to
Uh,
come to you.
they were able, yeah, they were able to mitigate that, and it was a really cool story because when I was talking to Rich about the possibility of having him being in my Idaho Friends, and he said, "Well, I don't know that I am the story." And I was like, "Well, you're right, but it's within the family. It's a staple
Hmm.
of the community. It has been around for a really really long time." And then he calls me like 2 days later, around like 9:30 at night, and Rich and I, we're buddies, we're friends, but we're at the same time we're not like the closest of friends. So it just caught me off guard that he's calling me later at night, and he's so excited and starts sharing this story with me. How this gentleman that that works for the store just took it upon himself again, throughout his own initiative to take care of his own community. And, of course, Rich and his family then at that time stepped up and found a way to further help said community. But it all started, through that particular manager.
Yeah.
And that's not a single story. That's not something that it was like, oh, like this one particular little thing that happened in this tiny little town in northern Idaho. That's just one of like just the many examples of how business owners are so highly embedded within this community. And
Yeah.
and yes, some of them have been here for a multitude of generations. But I also truly believe in my heart that people that come from out of town and decide that they want to live here and create a life for themselves, the reason why they do it is because they want to be part of said community.
Mm-hmm.
They want to plant those seeds and those roots. They want them to go as deep and as intertwined as possible in order to be part of that. And what I have seen many times over is that they are the ones that are actually. I don't want to say that they're trying too hard. I don't want to come across that whoops, one particular business owner is working harder than the other, but they most certainly are out there trying to prove to their community that they are here for them.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that totally does, and that's totally how I feel about the community is that in the times of needs, it shows up and comes together, and builds for everyone. Um, and I guess like coming from California and seeing how, yeah, you see that in kind of little microcosms. Like I grew up in a small town outside of San Francisco, that definitely had those aspects because it was so small. Like we're talking, 3,000 people in a town that's in a place where most everywhere else is like 100,000 people. Um, so why do you think that that's not just a small town Idaho thing, but it's in every town Idaho thing?
Oh wow, great question. I will say it has a lot to do with the that's a small town feel. All right. So for a number of years, Boise specifically, has been one of the fastest growing cities in the country. Yet you can still go out and run into a dozen people or more that you either went to high school with or you went to college with or somebody that you at one point in time, you know, uh, live next to or whatever the case may be. In Idaho, there's only one degree of separation from Kevin Bacon. There's not the six or the four or however many there's supposed to be. It's just the one. And that in out of itself makes it very difficult to not to and not in a negative way, but you're very aware of your surroundings. All right, it's not along the lines of like, oh, I care so much what other people think, but rather like, you know uh, who is it that I represent, and who is it that I am as part as being part of this community. And I know some people have argued that with me, and they say, no, Jaime, that's not true, or I do what I want, and no, I don't care what anybody thinks or anybody says. And you know and and when I was much younger, I would say things along those lines too, until it was time to face some sort of adversity, and you will see and realize how quickly your community, the people around you, those outside your family who are just your friends, excuse me, not just your friends, but who are also your family, they're just not blood related, how they step up to the plate. Is Idaho the only place where that happens? Absolutely not. It happens everywhere. It happens all over the world. But I have always been very surprised how quickly and how naturally it happens here.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's pretty incredible, um, and it's incredible to see it at such a large scale, and it's really beautiful, especially coming in here and starting a small business myself, um, and kind of going to the networking situations and finding new people to integrate with and like work with and collaborate with. Because for Argos, it's always been a thing about like community and collaboration and communication, and that's something that I think Idaho definitely has in spades. Um,
Right.
yeah. So let's talk more about like my Idaho friends a little bit. Let's see what we can kind of tease out there. Um,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
we
Fair
had a
enough.
really great time, especially with Will Hay and with Kevin Quinn on those first two episodes. Um, so I know that we're talking about trying to get some folks on Argos TV for the next couple weeks and get some folks essentially doing some more episodes of My Idaho Friends. So who do you think we're gonna see from who do you
Yeah.
think we're gonna see and hear from? Who can we
Oh
call out right
man,
now
that
to get on the platform? No.
right. Oh gosh, that's well played, Justin. I'm really excited. I just get the feeling, when I have another conversation with Shane Johnson from Nurse to the Rescue. I think he's gonna have a hard time saying no, so I'll go ahead and call him out.
Cool.
I I'm really excited when I come full circle and talk a little bit more with Paul Anderson from Anderson Reserve. It's a third generation butcher. He's a
Ooh.
transplant and he has created this amazing place over in Sweet, Idaho, of all places. It's a destination type spot where
Yeah.
he has a super fancy butcher shop and also a restaurant. And of course, he's he comes to mind. I spoke to him earlier today. Talk about adapt and overcome because of everything that's happening right now and the COVID-19 virus, and people are being very conscious of keeping their social distance,
Yeah.
physical distance, like I like to call it. That's what it really is. Uh, it's like just stay away from me. Uh, he he thinks outside the box. He went ahead, like I said, he's a butcher by trade, and that they have a lot of meat there, and then
Yeah.
created this what they call this quarantine box, right? And then he came up with the idea, I think like 3 weeks ago or something along those lines. And then for $100 you get like all these awesome prime cuts of just
Ooh,
super
yes.
awesome meat. If you happen to be a meat eater, that's a big deal. And completely sold out. So he's coming all over, the valley, and delivering those. And he came up with that on the spot because he doesn't want to lay anybody off. He doesn't want to let his chef go. He doesn't
That's
want to
amazing.
let go of the sous chef. He doesn't want to let go. So you have to start coming up with different ideas, different things. And as
Hmm.
a business owner and him being a butcher, he said, well, this is something that I can do. Well, he sold out almost immediately, and he was not expecting that. And I don't want to take away too much of the thunder because eventually I'm gonna speak with him. But somebody that he does business with, talked him into having a bigger box. And
Uh-huh.
he's concerned and said, "Well, no, nobody's gonna pay for this. That's just too much." It's like you just throw it out there, and then it's significantly it's a lot more than just $100 for just a
Yeah.
quarantine box of meat. And then he sold out of that. And just like that, like to have a happy ending to a story. He's not going to have to let go of anybody. Everybody gets to stay working for the business.
That's
As a matter
beautiful.
of fact, he was looking for extra help
Wow.
because he couldn't keep up with the demand. So, and especially with him being a restaurant owner, not every restaurant owner gets to have his own butcher shop. So I
Yeah.
get how unique that is. But he nailed it because uh, he gets to salvage his restaurant. And right
Wow.
now, of course, everybody knows, the restaurant business is just absolutely taking a beating.
Yeah.
I was reading somewhere earlier this week. I think on average, that there's enough. cash in the balance sheet for a restaurant, to survive maybe like 16 days, and then after that,
Mm.
it's like, okay, like if we're not getting any income, we're gonna have to shut down.
Yeah.
And again, talking about community, and not to turn, to a sour page, again, we were talking about how much we care, business
Hmm.
owners care, the community cares. And I mean, these are people that don't want to let go work family.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you notice, I keep saying work family. I mean, yes, employees, absolutely. But
But a
I
lot
mean,
of these
more
small
often than not,
places,
that's how
they
people are
become
referred to
families.
over here.
Yeah.
Exactly, it becomes friends, and they get to meet, their families, their spouses, their kids, and whatnot. And and as a business owner, you have a family of your own, and how, you know I don't envy, being in that place, in that spot. So um there are some people out there that have been able to think outside the box a little bit, and they've been able to manage to, come up with some ideas, just like Paul did, in order to keep things going.
Yeah.
There are others that are a little bit more dependent, just like you and I, and just like Erica was saying earlier, support your local business,
Yeah.
or order local. There's takeout all over the place. I mean, I'm drinking my Lost Grove beer from, City Peanut Shop Cup, Nuts and
Nice.
Beers. Dan
Nice.
himself gave me this for my birthday. Thank you, Dan.
Happy birthday.
And thank you. And and earlier, I got to talk, to Logan. She owns Capital Cellars downtown, and she's doing the best she can with curbside pickup. And they have the meals ready, and then you give them a call, and then they just bring it over to your vehicle, and then you pop in the meal. And when you're at home, everything that you can do in order to keep, the lights on. And some of these business owners have been fortunate to maintain some of their staff, and some of them have not been able to do so. And 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 it's affecting everybody. Of course, it's not just affecting the business owners, it's affecting, the individual families, and those who are just, just you alone and afraid. But it's going to take a group and a team effort in order to make
Yeah.
sure that we come above water, during these times.
Yeah. No, that's totally true. Um, and that that's definitely why we're here is to get those names out and get people engaging with their local communities. And we kind of look at it as like the Argos community, like, wherever you are watching this right now, your local community is hurting. So what you can do, whether you're in Phoenix, Arizona, whether you're in San Francisco, whether you're in, I'm going to say hi to my girlfriend Haina in Kiev, Ukraine. Like your local businesses definitely are looking for your help. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
definitely shop local. Um, and from there, I
Hmm.
want to pivot a
Hmm.
little bit and talk a little bit more about you, and like talk a little bit more about your journey, if you're willing to kind of go there, and
Yeah.
how you are Mr. Idaho in my mind.
But I don't know. Don't be throwing Idaho next to my name, and then you have to talk to Hillary tomorrow. That's not gonna go
Oh, that's
well.
fair. That's fair.
You get Hillary mad at me, man. You know that one. She is the true Idaho ambassador, and I'm just here. I'm just here. So I was born in Panama. And I moved to Idaho on Christmas of '94 when I was 14 years old. That's when the plane landed here,
Hmm.
and I was fortunate enough to then, attend North Junior High and Boise High, class of '98, which is a very iconic group of people. I know everybody thinks the graduating class is the best, or maybe there's just the other half of that coin, the
Uh-huh.
other side of that coin, where people hated high school. I love school here. I really truly enjoy it. Not because I was good at it, it's just because of friends. It was
Yeah.
just like the greatest thing ever. And back in Panama, I was a dime a dozen, and just goofy, scrawny, brown little kid. And but over here, oh man, I was exotic. And it was just a really good time. I am, I'm all of my success anything that I have achieved, anything good that's happened in my life is because of the kindness of the Treasure Valley. You know, it's
Hmm.
because of the kindness of my community, it's because of my friends, and it's because of their parents. And you know, I'm talking. You know, I remember my best friend's mother. I live with my grandparents, and at times, you know, my grandparents just couldn't come to. Oh gosh, I remember I was talking to being in a play, and it was a musical, and it was like Annie, get your gun, and I was surprise, surprise, one of the, if not the brown kid in drama and theater, and I played every single Native American in the musical,
Oh my
and
gosh.
you know, my grandmother was eventually able to make it, but she wouldn't have been able to make it had my best friend's mom not gone over and picked her up over at, you know, her house and brought her over here to the school, so you know, the auditorium to you know, to the play, and just little things like that. Like I never forget that. I never
Hmm.
forget that, and that's just one small example of, again, just people being kind and just being there for me. Anyways, fast forward a little bit, and
Well, before you fast forward,
graduate high
I
school in
I want to I
98.
want to dig in a little
Oh,
bit more as to what makes your high school like graduating class so iconic. Who are some names that are bringing the like the
oh
icon
man,
level
oh
status
that's
here? What's going on there?
uh, no, you know, maybe, you know, I think if you give me a chance and I get to reach out to some people, and then maybe they come on the show, and then,
Uh
you know, be like, hello.
huh.
But there's some really cool people. Oh man, you know, I think of, you know, people that I'm very proud of to be associated with. You know, my friend Beth, she is the director of economic development, you know, for the city of Nampa, and
Cool.
she's just absolutely amazing. And you know, you know, not super popular opinion, but at least over here in Boise, you know, we have grown, and we have nowhere to go but up, right?
Yeah.
So if we don't want to start becoming, you know, like some of these other places that don't necessarily respect the outdoors and the hills and things like that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of
Yeah.
what I foresee. And you know, the growth opportunity is going to be in Nampa. You know, when you're thinking, you know,
Totally.
the warehouse Amazon, you know, is being built over there. You know, there's microbreweries moving over there because of tax advantages and water rights and things along those lines.
Hmm.
When you're, you know, talking about, you know, production, you know, the types of business that, you know, they're not, you know, they're not just hiring like a few hundred people, but it's going to be like 1,000 or more, you know. And you
Yeah.
could argue, yeah, let's tell a small business, but you know, that's 1,000 people right there that get to be employed and get to live in, you know, in the city of Nampa. And uh,
Yeah.
I
I was
am
over
not.
in Nampa for the state of the city address that the mayor did, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of cool stuff happening over in Nampa in terms of how they're growing and um, how I mean, and just Amazon alone and how much money they invested into like infrastructure and not just their own warehouse,
Right.
but also like investing money into like the state highway system so that we can finish that like
Yeah,
84 corridor and all that kind of stuff.
exactly. You know, and I'm not gonna, you know, sit here in my little makeshift home office that used to be my kid's playroom, but right. But I got kicked out once I got the second kid. But you know, and I'm not gonna say that she's, you know, she has a team, but at the same time, you know, that's very humble, and I'm gonna be, you know, the one to say that, you know, she, a lot of what's happened, you know, in the city of Nampa
Yeah.
is because of her. So
Yeah.
that's something that I was like, man, like, you know, I went to high school with that. You know, I'm very proud of her, and she just has, you know, just the most awesome husband and kids, and it's just a great family. So that's just a little tease right there. I think the official number for a graduating class was like, you know, or at least how many seniors we had. Excuse me, it was something to the tune of 542,
Wow.
and the class of 98 was the last large class in Boise High School, because then the next year Timberline High School opened. So
Okay.
one of the fun things that I like to talk, you know, when I'm talking about the high school experience, Boise High, you had no choice but to make friends. Like unless you were like over like at the very like top third deck,
Hmm.
the third floor, which you got like a small locker all to yourself. Everything else below it, it was just three people to a locker.
Oh my gosh.
And if you showed up early to registration, you got to pick who your locker mate was gonna be. But if you
Uh-huh.
didn't, then surprise, and I am a little bit of an extrovert, so I really enjoy that part. But there are some people there who they're that they just have that very serious and introverted demeanor, and you just never saw anybody by themselves. You had to really go out of your way to be by yourself if you were part of the class of 98 in Quincy High. You had to try pretty hard. But yeah, and there's more people, that I'm very proud of that are heavily involved in our community, throughout the whole state. And if I'm able to, hopefully call in a few favor for us, we'll be having conversations with them here in the near future.
That's really exciting. That's really really exciting. I definitely want to get you and Hillary on at the same time. I think that'd be a lot of fun to have you guys talk.
Oh man,
Uh,
I don't know, man. I just think that's too spicy, man. I don't know.
no, because
It's,
Hillary's got so many stories and you've got so many stories, man. That would be a terrific time, and especially because she has, uh, like you were saying, like me saying that you are Mr. Idaho is probably going to upset her, and she's probably gonna come
yeah,
after me tomorrow on my interview and be like,
yeah,
who do you
and,
think
and,
you are
and she
calling
should
people
because
Mr. Idaho?
because because you said it and not me, so I
Oh
know
yeah.
I'm gonna be fine. I corrected you.
Exactly.
But no, I mean, Hillary has a gift. You
Yeah. No, she truly does.
she's authentic. She's genuine. There it was there not to like, and of course that's just my opinion. Sometimes, you know, that there'll be an oddball or an odd cat, will say something along like that's too much, but like, that can't be real. Well, yeah, she's a real deal, and you know, the proof is in the pudding. All the
Yep.
efforts that
Yep.
that she put towards her social media footprint in order to recognize other business owners, in order to make sure that they are being supported, not just her own, and just like anybody else, that owns a restaurant and owns a bakery. I mean, she's got this crazy amount of challenges, yet here she is, spearheading the effort to make sure that other people are getting the love, that other people are getting the recognition. She's
Yeah.
visiting, not just her friends' businesses, but other local businesses, and promoting them, and doing all these other things. And she was doing that, by the way, before any of this happened.
Yeah.
And you could say a lot of things about somebody, but at the end of the day, it is really truly is your actions. It's what you do. It's just what really places you in your community, and in the hearts of other people. And I think Hillary does a very good job of that. So that's what I'm going to say about her.
Cool, man. Yeah. I totally agree with
So
everything you said about Hillary.
so anyway, so that was high school, and then for a little bit, I I was in limbo.
Mm-hmm.
I was a DACA kid before DACA was cool. And I know that sounds terribly hipsterish of me, but there was no such thing back then. My visa had expired, and I was just kind of, hanging around, really struggling with what it was that I was going to do with my life. A lot
Yeah.
of my close, dear friends were all going to college, or they were going on their or trips, or they just one of them decided that he was going to go find himself and just drive down to South America. And I was like, of course you will. uh, and other people, were just working, or they were being groomed, for leadership in their families' businesses and things along those lines. And I was just kind of just there, and well, I think it's been long enough. I don't think I'm going to get in trouble, but I was working under the table. I was doing just about every single odd manual labor job under the sun.
Hmm.
And then eventually, fast forward a tiny bit, I was able to get my residency, uh, my U.S. residency. Uh, Fun story. My attorney at the time, it was a very, very young Raul Labrador. It's
Oh
my
wow.
immigration attorney, right? Yeah. So, and regardless where, because this is not about politics, but
Uh-huh.
back then, he that was, I don't know, that was in the back of his head. He was just a young attorney, and he took my case, which I really appreciated because I showed up with a wooden box full of cash, and then just gave it all to him. I said, "Can you
Uh-huh.
help me?" And he did, and he did. Eventually, I got my visas taken care of. My status as a resident taken care of here in the United States, and
Hmm.
a little bit after that, I joined the military. I joined the Marine Corps,
Wow.
um, and it was just, and it all just went by real quick after that. Just right. My kids are banging on the door. Hopefully,
No,
you
that's
guys
fine.
cannot hear that. But uh, yeah, and then I was in the service for 12 years. Just
Wow.
doing what Marines do.
Hmm.
And thank you. Sorry, I was just told dinner is ready. Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
So I don't know if you guys can hear that or not. Hopefully you can't. Um, so um, so yeah, I was in the service for 12 years, and during that time, I got married, and
Hmm.
I always thought I was going to do 20 something years in the service as an enlisted man in the Marine Corps, and was most of my time was spent overseas, deploying, because of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
GWA, the Global War on Terror, and all that other jazz. And but I was stationed out of California and North Carolina, and then my beautiful wife and I, she got pregnant, and then I had to make a decision, and I decided that it was just time to come home.
Yeah.
Uh, got here in 2015. I started my new career, and a year after I moved here, on New Year's Eve in 2016, we bought the house that I live in right now, and such a small world. Across the street, Dan Popke lives, and he's not my neighbor across the street. And some people might remember him from way back in the day. He's just a writer. He is still a writer, writer for the Statesman and whatnot. And
Uh-huh.
he worked on Raul Labrador's campaign when he was running for office,
Full circle.
and Dan and I are getting to know each other, and blah blah blah, and all these other stuff. And he tells me what he does, and I was like, and that I just, I have moved back, but I didn't have I didn't have my thumbprint in the pulse of Idaho just yet.
Yeah.
Transitioning from the military at the same time that you're becoming a father, and at the same time that you're starting a new career after being, in the military for 12 years, and then,
Yeah.
what are we going to do for work? And my wife's still trying to figure things out. And then he tells me, like, yeah, like I work, for Rose campaign. He's running for office. And I had no idea. It's a small world. And anyway, so it's just a little different rabbit hole. But yeah, that's me. There's a few things in between there.
Sure.
I'm very fortunate to live here in Boise. I'm very, very fortunate that I was able to purchase a house when it was still affordable to purchase a house
Yeah.
because of all the growth.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
whoa, geez. And I now have two beautiful children that break everything that I like and that I own. So I have that going for myself. And my wife and I have now been married for 10 years, and
It's
I
amazing.
just cannot imagine being anywhere else. Like sometimes I say this out loud, but I will die. I will die in Idaho.
Yeah. Yeah.
Specifically, it doesn't have to be necessarily Boise. I love Boise. I live and breathe Boise. This is my city, and I don't think, that's not something that will upset Hillary, but this is my city. I love, truly love this place. If you cut me, it's going to spell BOYSE. But I love this place. I love the people, my people. I, there's just something great,
Yeah.
about having the ability of being part of this community. And then all of a sudden, if you need a little bit of solitude, you can just get away in nature in less than
Yep.
15 minutes. And
Yeah.
you come back into the city and you're walking down the street and somebody's going to say, hello or good afternoon, good evening. There's some little places where you go that are also beautiful, but people are just so caught up on themselves. And over here, it's just a little bit different. So it's what makes
Yeah,
it
man.
special.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, and I really appreciate you sharing your story with everybody. Um, I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to seeing more interviews with you on Idaho Friends. Get some people on board.
right on.
I'm gonna let you get to dinner because I'm sure it's gonna be delicious. Um, and until next time, brother, thank you so much.
Oh, hey, Justin and Erica, thank you so much. I love this project. I love what you guys are trying to do. Keep on keeping on. I'm so
Thanks.
grateful that you have even thought of me to be a part of it. And if there's anything I
Always,
can
man.
do, of course, just reach out. Have a good
Appreciate it.
one, guys. Much love.
Thanks. See ya.
Cheers.